What's up guys, and welcome to another episode of Swiss Tuned. Today we're pulling the engine out of the GC8. Stay tuned. So if you've seen my other videos, you probably saw how we pulled the engine out of the GD chassis. And doing it again on the GC8 is going to be the exact same thing. So I feel like that's not the most interesting thing to watch, and therefore I'm going to do a huge time lapse from now on until when the engine and transmission are out of the car. If anything weird and unusual comes up, I'll throw in little updates in between, but yeah, let's get to work. As a quick reminder, here's the current state of the car. Airbox is gone, intercooler, battery, and next is going to be the radiator, this side of the engine bay, and then wrapping up on this side, and finally the clutch master cylinder, some wires. Then I can jump under the car and do the drive shaft, and then inside the shifter linkage, and then the brakes and the strut towers, and everything should be ready to be dropped. Alright, let me stop the time lapse real quick. I noticed something that's pretty weird. I was going to remove everything on this side of the engine bay, and I noticed some cables and wires running down here, and they're just zip tied all the way along the engine bay to wherever they go. And that seemed pretty weird because there are no connectors in this side, and there are some over here, but some buried underneath there, and it doesn't seem factory, because usually from factory you have connectors in easy access points where you can just take them out, remove the engine, and you're good. And this thing's buried all the way under the manifold. And to me that seemed weird, and it doesn't look like factory, but it actually is. And that's what's interesting. This car is a GC8, but it's not the regular GC8. In Europe, the RS version, which this is, as you can see, they're limited editions, and they only came with this gauge pod, which has boost, oil temperature, and fuel pressure. And that thing, even though it's from factory, it was added on top of the GC8 engine bay. And so what they simply did is run the wires and zip tie them wherever they wanted, which makes my job a lot harder now because I have to remove the alternator and go fish out that connector somewhere down there. But it's pretty cool. You can see one sensor going down here, a wire. It goes all the way down through the engine and then into the oil pan right here. And that's my temperature sensor. And also, the second one is the boost. This black line goes all the way here and then to the manifold. So boost is here, and then lastly the oil fuel pressure is the gray one going here and then down there to the rails, I'm assuming. I couldn't see exactly, but yeah. So that's a pretty cool thing, but bummer for me. Quick update on the engine. Everything is disconnected and ready to go. As you can see, there's quite a lot of room on this side. Front is good. This side doesn't look really good, but it is. And I could leave the starter motor hooked up. That's because the clutch master cylinder had enough clearance so that I could remove the bolts. And also I could leave the alternator on the car. So that's all good. Now I can jump into the car, take care of the drive shaft and the exhaust. That's the quick update. Everything is ready to drop the engine and the transmission. Last thing I did was to disconnect the brake lines and the hall sensors. Those things are so rusted inside of the hubs that I had to go and disconnect the connector and pull the wire through here instead of doing the opposite. So yeah, that's just what happens. And everything else looks pretty good. Got my steering linkage disconnected and everything else is freed up. So yeah, the shifter is also fully disconnected. Let's see. As you can see here, the boot went through the chassis, so it's ready to go down. So I'm gonna try and drop everything right now, crossing my fingers that everything goes well and I haven't forgotten any lines, but yeah, we'll see. Alright, transmission and engine are finally out of the car. Everything went super good, no broken cables, no nothing, and actually a few things. I thought this engine would have a U-brace, but it did not. And this one actually did. So you can see it right here, it's going around in the back. I don't know if that's normal or not, but the chassis has some bolt holes over here which aren't used. So I don't know if this car got in a wreck and they removed it completely, or if it's from factory. Also, if you don't want to lose the transmission oil when you pull the drive shaft out, just put a glove on it. It's pretty handy. And yeah, that's it. Also, I used a little bit of a different technique this time. I put the engine straight on the hoist, which before I did not do. I used the rollers and that made it a lot easier to pull the engine, but now I have to somehow put this on the rollers, and that's not going to be a piece of cake because the engine is so wide and the rollers actually don't fit in between the hoist. So I don't know, I'll figure it out somehow. Okay guys, that's going to be a wrap for today. We got a lot done, got the engine and transmission out of the car. Next time is going to be rear subframe and gas tank. But yeah, thanks a lot for watching, and give it a big thumbs up if you liked it. I really enjoyed those, and subscribe if you want to see more. You can always find me on Instagram, and yep, peace out.